Good evening and welcome to the Entrepreneurs Hangout. I'm Sean Duffy. I'm privileged to be part of the great team at EY in Ireland. Tonight I'll be posing your wonderful questions to three phenomenal entrepreneurs and finalists in this year's Entrepreneur of the Year programme. On my left I have John Purdy from Ergo, Mark Hutchinson from Hutchinson Engineering and Brian Crowley from TTM. Gentlemen, you're very, very welcome. Before I crack into the questions, it'd be really nice to learn a little bit about who you are and your business. So, John, would you start the proceedings?
Sure. Good evening, Sean. My name is John Purdy. I'm the CEO of Ergo. Ergo is an IT services organisation that's 21 years old. We have 175 employees. We turn over 25 million. We manage IT for organisations on this island in the UK and now spreading into mainland Europe and beyond.
Fantastic. And Mark?
I'm Mark Hutchinson. I'm Managing Director of SJC Hutchinson Engineering. We're a second generation family business based in County Derry, Northern Ireland. We currently employ 100 people with annual turnover of 9.5 million. We supply a wide range of components to a lot of industrial customers in a wide range of sectors throughout Ireland and the UK. We specialise in laser cutting, folding and fabrication.
Fantastic. And Brian, you're very welcome.
Thanks, my name's Sean. Brian Crowley is my name. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the TTM Group. Two parts of the organisation, Sean. We have an international healthcare recruitment company, TTM Healthcare, and we have a healthcare services company, Resilience Healthcare. The healthcare services company, we have residential care homes for people with disabilities, and we also provide complex home care solutions as well. About 1,000 people in the business between temporary and permanent, about 187 core staff with a turnover about 40 million euros this year, and headquartered in Ennis in the amazing county of Clare, Sean.
Fantastic. Well, look, we've got a fantastic spread of businesses. Can't wait to get stuck into the questions. So my first question comes from a Bright Business, and their question is 5 things about you that makes you an entrepreneur. And I'm going to ask each of you to, now we don't have to have 5, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 major ones, but the core components of an entrepreneur for you, John.
So number 1 has to be passion. You've got to have the passion to believe in what you're doing, what your team is doing. You've got to be very resilient. You've got to be able to take the punches. When you get knocked out, get back up and go and go and go and go. You've got to have the ability to listen to people around you. You've got to be able to select a really excellent team, and possibly more important than all, you've got to obsess about the customer.
That's fantastic. And Mark, second generation family business, what are the core components of an entrepreneur for you?
For me, being diverse, so you've got lots of things to do on a daily basis, from dealing with customers, suppliers, people within your organisation. So I think that for me that's the key component. Communicating with people, obviously being resilient. You've got to take a lot of knocks and get back up again. So those would be the components from my point of view.
And Brian, I mean, John uses an amazing phrase, obsessing about the customer. I mean, in your business that must be
absolutely
the essence.
I mean, you know, much of our planning, much of our strategy starts with the customer, and then we move outwards from there. The customer's core to every decision that we make. Which is interesting what the boys were saying in relation to, you know, what makes an entrepreneur, what the attributes are. It's funny, I think you see the difference between leadership and management as an entrepreneur in a significant way. You know, when times are tough, you have to still hold the brave face. I think it's like the duck on the pond scenario. I know that he's, you know, floating majestically, but the feet are going a million miles an hour below the surface. And I think that's the key, is that leadership, that confidence, that reassurance that you got to give your people in good and bad times. I think that's the true trait.
It's really interesting because we've spent a lot of time together in Seattle and Vancouver and through the program. And one thing that does strike me is the high degree of confidence that all of the finalists exude and you guys exude. I mean, how important is that confidence, John, on a daily basis?
So it's hugely important, but don't be fooled by it. So I think you've got to work on your confidence every day. I think you've got to remind yourself each day of the things that as a business you've achieved and that as you as an individual have driven. I think if you are over-believing in yourself, you become arrogant. and you drink all the Kool-Aid and all, and that's not a good place to be. So I think having that balance between the reality switch and building on your own confidence, and something that I personally believe in, that you've got to spend a couple of minutes every day reminding yourself of your achievements.
I think that's an incredible aspect, which is having a game plan. You know, Mark, game plan and strategy, and how important is it to have a framework around you and your business as you move forward?
I think it's vital, and it's something that I've been working on in the last couple of years. It's been a big transition coming from a family business, having to do everything, working very strongly in the business, and then going to have to work on the business. So for me, that is a key aspect. You must have a strategy going forward, and if you're seen to have a strategy, it filters right down through your team. I agree that you have to believe in yourself, but you must also get others to believe in you and go on the journey with you.
I mean, that's a fantastic aspect, and leads me neatly into, there's been a huge core theme in the flood of questions we've received around team, the importance of team, how you build a team. So Brian, the importance of team.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, there's a lot of analogies between sport and business, Sean. You know, you could have 15 in a GA team who are the best players in the country, yet they might not win a game because of the dynamic between them. I think it's the same in business. We work very hard on the makeup of our teams. We have superstars. We have people who work very hard, and I think it's about where you place them, how you coach them, how you encourage them, and everybody reacts differently. And it's funny, advice I got before in relation to even delivering messages to teams, that you have to adjust your message based on that audience. Finance people will take a message differently to HR people, and marketing people will take a message differently to sales people. But I think the way in which organizations or management teams plan in which how they put teams together is crucial. But it doesn't have to be all superstars. A balance works.
So Brian raised an interesting point there around teaming, and I know, John, leadership and business education is a massively important feature of you and your business and how you run your business. Leadership by example, how important is that characteristic to you in your business?
So I have a theory which talks about the legitimate leader, somebody who is credible, somebody who's prepared to dig deeper than the rest of the team, somebody who absolutely lives the values, somebody who leads by example all of the time. And I use two examples. I use the legitimate leader as Nelson Mandela, and the illegitimate leader as somebody like the Wolf of Wall Street, okay, it was all superficial, artificial, and not sustainable. So the legitimate leader is somebody who will bring a team along over a journey, who will rise to the challenge and the next challenge and the one after that. So having that credibility within your own leadership style and the leadership team that you're trying to build is really important.
That's a fantastic observation. So turning back to the questions from the viewers, a fairly significant question that cuts across a lot of questions is around sacrifice, the issue of sacrifice. So Brian, what was your biggest sacrifice for your business?
Sure, Sean, I think you only get out of something what you put into it. So, sacrifices are a part and parcel of life, and particularly in business. I think family is probably one of the people who suffer the most in an entrepreneur's life. You want to spend more time with your kids, you want to spend more time with your wife, and sometimes it's just not possible. I'm lucky in my case. I've got a fantastic family. I've got a great wife who supports me more than she should. And I think in terms of trying to find that balance, between yourself, between business and family, it's a huge challenge, Sean. So I think, and from speaking to some of the guys on the trip in Seattle and Vancouver, on the EY trip, they're all the same. It was funny, I was emailing late at night there recently, and the three guys I emailed who were on the program all emailed back between midnight and 5 a.m. It just tells you how hard these guys work. So the sacrifice, I think, in big one is family.
Yeah, I have found that the entrepreneurs have a very healthy disrespect for their own sleep. So I'm not surprised at all by that. John, turning back to the questions again, and I'm going to ask this question of all three of you, if you don't mind. John, with you first, what makes your business stand out from your competitors?
So in a business like ours, differentiation is really important and really different. And everybody will answer people to that question. And people is absolutely a part of it. but it's people with the right level of process, that has the right level of governance with the agility that we need to compete against the big gorillas, and it's the proposition. So it's getting those three things aligned and creating that relationship with the customer where we are the go-to, or we are the people to come to for advice. That's the level of differentiation that we try to create. So we become the trusted advisor.
It's fantastic, and it parallels even with our own business in EY, and it really resonates with me actually, John. Mark, Hutchinson Engineering, how do you stand out from the crowd?
Well, we're also involved in a very competitive market. We're in manufacturing. We've seen over the last 10 years increasing pressure from the Far East, products being brought in. But what we have done, we've invested in the latest technology, but more key to that, we've invested in the right people to get the most out of that technology. We've worked very closely with all our key customers to become strategic partners, and we solve problems for them. And that for us is a key, and we keep raising the bar and keep looking over our shoulder at our competitors.
Continuously striving for more and more. Brian, the same question, please.
Yeah, Sean, we have amazing people, you know, and we have an amazing service. But what's interesting, actually, what's really important to us, and something that we're very proud of, is around our corporate social responsibility. And you have to be very careful of that. Sometimes people can be quite cynical around corporate social responsibility. But, you know, we and our staff, you know, we work with very vulnerable people. We work with people who are very ill. There's a moral, I think, imperative for us as an organisation to give back. So some of the success that we achieve, I think, in terms of, you know, peers of our size, we far outweigh in terms of the money, and we invest things like the Laura Lynn Foundation, Care Leavers Ireland, which is a charity that we set up to help young people who leave care, to help them with further educational opportunities when they leave care. So I think our staff really get behind it. And I think it's important. It's, you know, it's a soul in our business. And I think even though, you know, I could give you all the answers about how amazing our people are, how amazing our service is, but one thing that's core to us is what we give back.
Yeah, soul in your business. I mean, what a passionate phrase. You know, building upon what John said earlier about obsessing about the customer. So that passion, I'm feeling that passion coming across the table here. Mentors, boards, non-executives. Again, a massive feature of the questions coming out here. You know, putting people around you and seeking advice when you take the first step. John, how important has a mentor or a board structure been to you in your journey through the business?
So it's interesting that you refer to it as a journey, because that's something that I talk about a lot. And I think in the same way as you need different skills and different staff members at different parts of the journey, I think you need different mentors through the journey. So when we started the business, I had a co-founder, Tim Sheehy, and Tim and I are and were great friends. We set the business up together, and Tim was a fantastic mentor to me in my earlier days. If I roll forward 21 years, as we prepare now for the next wave of growth, we have just stood up a new board, and that new board has 3 non-exec directors, one who has an M&A background, one who has a technology background, and one who has an operational efficiency background or effectiveness background. So having those people who hold a mirror up to me and my team is really, really important.
A fantastic challenge, a daily challenge.
Absolutely.
Mark, mentor through your journey with Hutchinson Engineering?
Again, we've come through a fantastic journey. Being a family business with parents and siblings involved in the business, you find that you have a board meeting every time you have dinner together, and that's a key challenge in itself. Obviously, my dad has been a key mentor to me throughout my career. He's been a good sounding board, and I'm a great believer that people need a sounding board. And whether that's in the form of a formal non-exec director or a board of directors, then that is key, and that is the way forward. I think one thing that my dad taught me was that you can't do everything yourself, and you must bring in experts in the field. What we have found over the last few months even is that there are a lot of people out there very willing to give their time and to actually help you progress through business. So,
and Brian, I know you started TTM at a very young age, and very young time in your life. I mean, did you have a mentor? Did you seek out external input?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's both formal and informal mentoring, Sean. I've been very lucky, you know, by accident or by design, I'm not too sure, but I've been very lucky in life. I've a mum and dad who have been very good to me, very supportive, and you'd be surprised at the advice you can get both informally and formally, Sean. You'd be surprised of people's background and the insights that they can give you. Well, not necessarily completely business focused, but at a young age, there's a gentleman, Ed Coonan back in Clare, who was very good to me in terms of advice and guidance. I managed to get some formal support via Enterprise Ireland as part of our export aspirations. But what's really ironic based on the question is I had lunch with John yesterday, and it was the cheapest advice I've ever had. You know, he's really a cheap date. I think for 30 or 40 euros I got the best advice you could possibly get. Sorry, Sean. Sorry, John.
It's fantastic because you've sort of hit on a really important point, which is, you know, when your journey comes to an end and after the event in October and you join the alumni and that network, the interaction opportunities and you'll obtain by being together through the network will be phenomenal, and I look forward to sharing that with you. It's not always a flat line existence run the business, so there are peaks and there are troughs and there's tons of adrenaline pumping around the body all the time. There's a really fantastic question here which says, do the wins ever feel as good as the losses feel bad? John.
Wow, what a question. So the wins are magnificent. I could talk for an hour on each of the 3 or 4 significant losses that we've had in the last 20 years. And I think you've got to use them as a platform to learn and to move forward for you and for the team. They are a really important part of the learning experience. And I think you've got to take time to consume them and learn from them. Going back to my earlier point, I think you've got to celebrate daily a little bit, particularly as in the roles that we play in life. There can be a lot of reasons to be negative. There's absolutely a lot more reasons to be positive. And you've got to work on that all the time. And, you know, the body language of the leader is observed as you walk through the office to get a cup of coffee. So, you know, if you're in bad form, everybody knows that you're in bad form. If you're in good form, everyone knows. So it's really important you get that balance right, that you have the reality switch so people know when it's serious and people know when it's good.
And Mark, the highs and the lows, how do you cope?
For me, every time the highs far outstrip the lows, thankfully. We haven't had too many bad lows, thankfully, but I think as John says, you've got to use that to pull yourself back up again, and you really just have to focus and remain focused on your goals, and I think they get you there, and strive to get those ones every day.
Yeah, fantastic. And Brian, same question.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a really boring answer, Sean, if you don't mind. You know, there are fantastic highs and lows in every business. What I've, you know, if I could give advice, you know, to the listeners and the viewers out there is try to balance those highs and lows. Try not to get too excited and try not to get too depressed, because it's so rocky. I mean every day, every hour, something new happens. And what I've tried to do, and it's desperately difficult to do it, is to try to keep a kind of an even keel. So not to get extremely happy when things are really good and not to get too down when things are bad. Difficult to do, not the most exciting answer in the world, I'm sorry, Sean, but if people could try to have a balance. Don't get too excited.
So tone down the
absolutely.
adrenaline. Tone down the adrenaline
Absolutely.
is the key observation.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of questions around nature, nurture, the genes of an entrepreneur, or can you grow into being an entrepreneur? But one question that's slightly on the theme of that is around resilience. Do you actually think you're born with the resilience to be an entrepreneur? Is that something that becomes hardened or developed as you go through the journey? John?
I've never given that question a huge amount of thought, but I think there is often a blind determination within an entrepreneur. There's many reasons why you wouldn't start this journey. There's many reasons why you would give up on the way. But there is this thing inside you that makes you believe that you can drive forward. And that, you know, I would say of myself, and I would say of those around me, that I want us to be good and I want us to be better than we naturally are. Just a little bit, not to overstretch ourselves, but I think one of my roles as a leader is to get a little bit more out of the individual than that they believe in themselves. And I apply that to myself. So there is an absolute blind willingness, resilience around wanting to succeed, wanting to develop, wanting to go the next step, wanting to go up the value chain. And no is not an option. Can't is not something that we as an organization accept. We will find a way where, you know, I'm surrounded by really smart people, much smarter than I am, that can figure out ways of getting through most challenges.
I think it's a fantastic answer. And Mark, just to develop that theme a little bit, having gone down this journey, what key lessons would you bring to the next time, if there was a next time? If you were advising yourself now in 3 or 4 years' time, what would you say to yourself?
I think build a good team of people around you, a good strong team very quickly and very early on, and bring them along with you on your journey. I think it's very difficult. The further you go along the journey on your own, it's much more difficult then to bring people and for them to believe in you. Going back to your question about being born with resilience, I think we're all born with some level of resilience. I think if you, in hindsight, if you needed the resilience that you needed every day, I don't think you would go on the journey at all. But it's a good journey to go on.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go on the journey without some of the other aspects. And Brian, when you find yourself in a little bit older, how would you advise your younger self?
It's an interesting question, Sean. I think I'd advise myself to make the tough decisions quicker. You know, when you're younger and you've got the passion and enthusiasm, you think everything's going to go right, and sometimes you've got to make really difficult decisions. And I think if I was to have a chat with myself, I'd say make them quicker. I think equally, and it's advice I've given several people in relation to setting up new businesses. I think to understand your numbers, Sean. You know, I'm speaking obviously to someone from Ernst & Young. You guys will appreciate this, but people really need to understand what their numbers are, understand the sales that they think they're going to make, but stress test them. You know, what if you don't? What if you make 50% less than you expect? What if it costs you 50% more than you thought it would? Run those scenarios and be confident that no matter what's ahead, you can handle it and you can deal with it. Have all the passion, have all the energy, but you know, be cautious. Run those numbers, check it out, get advice. So they're the two key pieces of advice I give to myself. Okay. Tough decisions quickly, and financially plan as best as you can. You know.
My final question is around the ideas that come to you in the middle of the night, the opportunities that come to you alongside running your own businesses. How do you deal with them, and what do you do with them, John?
So we work on the basis that what we do today is not going to be valued by our customer in 18 to 24 months. That keeps us on an edge. That keeps us paranoid about our future income. We then constantly are working on the next wave. So that affects your hiring decisions. So we're hiring people who are coming into an organization that's very comfortable with change, that's used to change, that's in a mode of planned flux, okay? So we have an active approach to saying, what does our proposition need to change in order to stay relevant and deliver the outcomes that we need? So we have a whole means of doing that. We have innovation councils, we have competitions, we drink a lot of coffee, okay? I drink a lot of coffee with anybody who will give me an insight about where the future is moving to in terms of technology, and we take those learnings back internally and see how can we monetize them and how can we put them into some form of product.
Sounds like a fantastic engine you're developing there, John. Mark, you know, openness to new ideas and inviting new ideas. How do you manufacture that?
We have tried to encourage a culture of suggestions within our organisation, and I have to say some of the people that we have working to us, some of the suggestions that they've come up with have been absolutely brilliant. We're an engineering company. We constantly have to offer new solutions to our customers. We have to integrate new technology, and we have to bring everyone up to speed with that and then go and sell it to our customers. So we actively encourage the suggestion culture.
Fantastic. And Brian, when somebody knocks your door with something that's a little bit outside of your core business and it's a different idea, are you naturally compelled to do something about it, or?
certainly listening is a great start when people come with ideas, especially people within your own organisation. There's a great book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Something that John alluded to earlier, which I think is very, very true. I think in the trip to Seattle and Vancouver, one of the companies, I think it was Amazon, they're planning for what's going to be available in 4 or 5 years' time. They're not wondering about next week or next month. They're wondering what technology is going to be available in 4 or 5 years' time to make what they do better. So I think certainly within our organisation, I constantly ask our teams, where are things going? Where's the recruitment industry going? Where's healthcare going? Can we get there first? Can we have early mover advantage on our competitors? So we would constantly strive to see where things are going. Can we and plan to get there? I think no matter what, people are the enabler, Sean. To get to where you need to get to, you need the people to get you there. And we would seek advice, we would seek guidance, we would seek feedback from our people constantly about where they feel the industry is going, and then build our strategy around that.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. We're so proud to have you in the programme this year, to be finalists. As always, I find the interactions so fueling, and I know at EY we treasure this programme and having you in the programme. So thank you so, so much. And to everybody out there, amazing questions as usual. Please keep firing them through, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday at 9 o'clock after the next edition of The Entrepreneurs. Good night.